play. And truly, truly, even now when you see the way we are practicing, we now have a playroom. Even sick children, we have a playroom in the hospital. When they are not having any procedures being done, when their medicine is not being done, they can take 2 or 3 hours to go and just play. And you notice even when they are really sick, the next day you come and they're very happy. They all tell you almost, can you see me very fast? I need to go and play. So play is very important. And it's unfortunate most of our schools are compromising on play for let's go do maths. And it's actually those schools which are able to integrate play and maths which are making it, the children, they grasp them so quickly that actually you can do a game and count, and they learn how to count even faster than sitting them in a class like now and telling them 1 plus 2 is, okay? So it's expected, look for a way to calm her down. Once you introduce new foods, you must realize things are not the same. When you have breast milk, and most people that will not know this, is that breast milk is like almost 80-90% water. And that's why if you've had a baby, you notice once they are breastfeeding, their stool is very watery. In fact, sometimes we do get mothers coming in and saying, I think my baby has diarrhea. And we actually, mothers will come and say, I think my baby has diarrhea. And when we look at the stools, you say, no, this is actually very normal stools, all right? For a baby who is just breastfeeding. But when you introduce now other foods, because you notice when you introduce uji, the consistency of uji is not the same as breast milk, isn't it? So their stool consistency will change, okay? And when you introduce other foods, we tell you to do it gradually and one at a time. Because when you notice that sometimes the stools are getting hard, it's possible that child is not digesting a certain food as well as it should be, okay? For example, we've noticed there are some children, whenever you give them popo, their stool will look like popo, it smells like popo, and it's extremely hard. Yes, and when you eat popo here and popo comes out the other side, what has happened? There's no digestion, isn't it? And you actually stop the popo and things go back to normal. So when you introduce foods gradually, then you're able to tell, I think it's popo, okay? I think it's the uji I am using. Maybe the flour has omena and maybe my child is reacting to that. So when you actually start introducing new foods, do it gradually. Start, if it is maybe my uji, I'll start uji for 2-3 days as I watch. What am I watching? First is my baby accepting it. Because there are some children, even if you go, I find mothers who come and tell me, my baby has refused to take uji, and I'm so frustrated because that's the only thing I have been told I can give my baby after 6 months, yeah? But there are some children, if you're fighting every day, it's not worth it. Move to something else. The other thing you're checking, other than acceptability, are they able to digest it? If you give the popo and popo comes out, then stop it. Chances are their stomachs are not able to digest it, okay? So leave it for now and you can try later on. Another thing is check out for allergies. Because sometimes how you will discover a child is having an allergy to a certain food is through getting very hard stools, what we call constipation, okay? And for example, when you start the animal proteins, there's some proteins that will cause the child to have very hard stools. Others will be very watery stools. So when you look at it and see, oops, this is my uji, this is what it has done, then you're able to strike it off and get it off. But if you start 20 things at the same time, then you can't quite put what was the problem. So sometimes we work with experience, like now we know popo does cause issues, isn't it? So we'll say most likely it's popo. But now it gets harder than if you had done it gradually. Basically, the uji we recommend is one which has not more than 2 cereals, okay? So if you choose Wimbi, you can use Wimbi and sorghum, maize and sorghum, and even if you chose to just give simple maize meal porridge, it's fine. Or simple Wimbi, that's fine. But don't have more than 2 or 3 cereals. Yes. that even when they are reacting, you're able to pin down to what exactly it is. Other things you can start with infant cereals. They're there. For example, there's cereal and all those processed ones. But now I get parents who are saying, I want my child to be on a natural stuff. The issue is, whatever you're giving your baby, start it gradually. Okay? Remember, when you are adding other foods, you're introducing new smells, new tastes, new feels. So if you give everything at the same time, you probably might not, the child will just reject. Okay? So you still can give your vitamin. See if they're not happy with that, move to something else until you see what suits you. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So when I thought about the well child, I was pretty excited because most of the time, as pediatricians, we are running around trying to get children well. Okay? And we are in a setup, or our place is really, we are trying cure disease rather than prevent it. It's very rare you'll find people talking about a well child. We're either talking about pneumonia, diarrhea, about malaria, yeah? And they're really big issues. And for me, there are certain pillars that we know and we can build on, and some of them, and basically I drew a well child, the center, who is smiling. And there are certain building blocks through which we can actually, some we've been able to touch, some we've not. For example, where do we get a well child from? We said a well mother gives us a baby, most of the time, okay? Sometimes it might not go as that. Most of the time, we will determine the quality. And really, for you to have a good baby, we must concentrate on the mother, all right? Advice on nutrition. I'm happy you're having lots of nutrition talks in pregnancy, vitamin supplementations, other micronutrient supplementation, so that you then give us baby. And majority of the times, we are having most of our mothers actually deliver at home, okay? And they're not assisted. But if one journey, you must start out right. It's at birth. If you have a bad start, chances are your quality of life is not as good. If you don't receive the adequate care, and I'm happy now we are having free services, and I'm hoping they're really free. You know, there are times you'll say free and you have to buy the card, or free and you have to pay for the injection. I'm really free for it. So that we end up with children getting off a good start. Because when you have a good start, chances are you will do extremely well. And when we have that, then the next thing we really want to push on very early is breastfeeding. Okay? And now we are having most of our mothers, like Rachel and Liz, going to school, and they're doing full-time jobs where they're working 12 hours, and real challenges are coming, okay? About a working mother who is thinking, I want to breastfeed my child, what do I do? Okay? And there are things we can do, all right? Like, for example, learning how to express your milk, store it, and for the baby. Having organizations which have breastfeeding rooms so that you can actually carry your baby to work and breastfeed and take breaks. Or have a place where you can express your milk and store it safely without people coming and using it or drinking it or contaminating it. You know, people want to smell and see how does breast milk smell like. So a mother needs to have that assurance that wherever she's kept her milk, it's safe. Okay? And so breastfeeding, we can talk and talk about it, but it is the best, the most, it's at the right temperature. All the nutrients are put at the right quantities. You don't have to wonder, do I add a teaspoon of sugar? Do I add salt? If they are mixed to suit the baby every age, okay? So breastfeeding is really one pillar that we really must come out, especially when we have statistics in Kenya that less than a third of our mothers are breastfeeding until 6 months. Catherine, how long did you breastfeed your baby? How long did you breastfeed your baby?
11 months.
Exclusively?
No, exclusively for 3 months.
3 months. one of the working mothers, isn't it? And had so many challenges. And you're living in parklands and working in industrial area, and by the time you go to work, you leave at 6 o'clock and come back at 7. It's terrible. But what my message is, if really you are determined, you can. All it does is take it planning. All right? It takes you more effort to plan how I express my milk 2-3 weeks before I start work, and keep finishing that stall by doing it during the day. The challenge, I promise you, there are many. Okay? For example, you know where to express. Some mothers are expressing in their cars. Some who don't have cars, what happens? I have all this breast milk I put in containers, and you need to keep it in the fridge for a while, and there's nowhere to do. Then, so it's really, but we hope with time we will have more organizations buying in and seeing the benefits of having a child who is well nourished. And when you have a child who is well nourished, they hardly get sick. And they hardly get sick. Your mother doesn't have to miss work. Yeah? And if you find countries where they have paid maternity of 9 months, the quality of life is pretty much very good. Okay? And taking that breastfeeding even affects things like intelligence, performance, social skill, okay? Because they learn to bond with you, okay? So breastfeeding, very important. Then we had complementary feeding is when now we've decided we've exclusive breastfeeding, and most of the times we really need to give you on what foods to go to. Otherwise, you learn from in fact, I keep commenting that even the mother comes with a formula. But the winning meal is malay, potato, a green banana, and spinach. And I'm like, how did you learn that? There must be somebody who puts out a message somewhere. It's the best food for the baby, yeah? But you really need to know that babies require all the food groups. You must have your proteins. And when you're giving a green banana, it's a carbohydrate. Malay, it's your carbohydrate. A potato is a carbohydrate. So where is the protein? All right, they always get that point where a light bulb goes up. Okay, so we really need to know what exactly we give our babies once we are not exclusively breastfeeding. Immunization, and now we have very comprehensive schedules where we are looking, and I'm happy now we're immunizing our children against pneumonia, and hopefully we'll have another vaccine to help with diarrhea soon put, so Kenyan children can get it. Even on the private sector, even in the public, sometimes I find most of our mothers very ignorant. Which injections have you come from? Nobody knows. It has an assistant, I'll be told when. But it's important that we are putting out that it's not difficult. Even the mother in the shamba should know what exactly we're immunizing our babies on. And off you hear we have campaigns, we want to give our children under 5 measles, we want to give them polio, because now our borders are very porous, and we're getting children coming in from other countries which are what. And I have seen a case of polio in Nairobi. We have seen cases of measles, so it's not far off, okay? So we really need to know what exactly is immunization, what do we immunize, and what are these other components that we have. Growth monitoring, majority of the times after 9 months, most of our mothers, okay? And we find a child at 6 years who is not growing too well, and when we go to the growth card, we can't make up any history. Why? Mother stopped going to the clinic to have this child weighed. So we wonder, how am I supposed to know what happened in between? But if you have actually been going, it's so dramatic. We look at those graph cards and I ask you, what happened at 4 months? And the mother looks at you and asks, why? Why did you ask 4 months? What happened in June? What happened in September? Because you can actually tell, and a child's growth is affected. Either if they've had an infection, you can tell. You find out that probably that's in the for 2 weeks and the child wasn't eating very well. And how